Okay, thank you so much, Roy, for your inspiring speech. Okay, so now we can move on to the next speaker. So next speaker, we have Manto Ho from Vietnam, and his speech is navigating a sustainable future from video games to pro-environmental behavior. Manto Ho is the Vice Director of the Center for Interdisciplinary Social Research at Phrenica University, Hanoi, Vietnam. His research focuses on how video games influence and can address environmental challenges. So his talk explores how green gaming, from educational tools to environmental narratives, can drive environmental engagement and sustainable practices with insights from player behavior analysis and economic models. I think that would be very interesting, especially many of our kids are playing games online or other ways. Okay, let's pass the floor to Mental Ho.
Hello, nice to meet everyone, and thank you all the previous speaker for delivering such a exciting talk and topics. And for me, I would like to share a bit with you through my talk today about the hidden connection between video game and environment. And in this talk, I'd like to share a bit, to review a bit some of the mainline research regarding video game and environment, and also sharing some of the finding in my own research as well. So let's start with, okay. So I think when you buy a new iPhone today, you would probably recognize that they no longer have the charger within it. And when Apple did this in 2020, they cited the reason as they want to reduce the packaging so they can reduce the transportation cost and therefore saving environment. Whether this is true or not is up to debate, but I think it's one of the ways that we can recognize the electric and digital goods have been paying more attention to the environmental impact. Even as recently, with the rise of artificial intelligence, the Vietnam News also shares some information about the carbon footprint of artificial intelligence. So how about one of the largest entertainment industry in the world with in terms of money? The market is up to almost 2 billion, with a lot of people, with more than 3 billion active gamer, as well as a lot of time. A single game can generate up to 3 billion hours of entertainment each month, in comparison to normal TV show can only produce up to 75 or 80 hours in total. So with video games, first, when they are still a physical media, there is a lot of worry about the use of plastic in packaging, and also the electronic waste. As far back as in 1983, there are 700,000 of cartridges were dumped as landfill in America. And this was one of the biggest incident of environmental impact that early for the video game industry. Later, recently, game have moving toward a digital storefront where game can be bought and download online, and people stay online more for playing video games. So the energy consumption and the carbon footprint of the ever online connectivity have become the new worry for video game industry. In order to address some of this worry through game journalism and through official initiative like Playing for Planet from United Nations, video game industry have started to to find a way to raise awareness and to address some of the environmental concern. From the research community, one of the notable line of research is green gaming study, which mostly from based on the theory from the media study and traditional humanities study. There have been a lot of terms that have been used to describe the green gaming, such as eco game, climate game, or ecological games. One of the notable definitions is by Colin Minburn. He in a way categorized the video game in terms of gameplay and narrative into various types of environmental discipline, control, and responsibility. In a way, this traditional video game study tried to find the environmental meaning of video games. Aside from that, there's also another line of research, which is the serious game, which is a game that have been built and designed exclusively for environmental purpose. And this line of research have been used a lot in various fields like architecture or education. It's more like a tool to foster environmental awareness. And of course, video game as a technological research also receive a lot of attention from computer science, in which they try to find the solution and try to find technological advancement to have the game run more efficient and greener. One of the famous serious game can be found in the title called Ego. Is interestingly, in the advertisement, they were advertised as educational tools, and in fact, it was built under the funding from U.S. Department of Education. Some researchers call it a digital simulated ecosystem. So through playing this game, player can learn about the environment and also learn about the danger of exploiting environment. Aside from serious game, another aspect that interesting is finding the educational value in the popular games. Like there's a title called Red Dead Redemption 2 or Animal Crossing. Red Dead Redemption 2 is a open world game in which the world is the simulation of the 18th century American. And in this game, researchers have found that like when players go out in the game trying to catch some fish, they can actually learn and remember the name, the habitat, and even the sound of the fish after playing a lot in this game. In my own research as well, and in 2020, when I conduct a survey of Animal Crossing, it's a live simulated game from Nintendo. We found that the player really like to simulate and redesign the islands in natural related themes when they have a chance to redesign the islands where the game is happening. In this survey, I also try to find the correlation between the in-game behavior and real-life environmental perception, which I find is often contradictory. We believe this is due to the simplicity of the game design, in which the natural environment is often be portrayed as unlimited resource. So and in order to complete the game, you just have to keep on exploiting the resource. And this is also one of the most common criticism regarding the interactivities of environment in video games. I think one of the most important contribution of the game study is to the concept of playing, because when I say I am playing video games, it's very different from like I say I am reading a book, because if I say I read a book, you can understand easily. But when I say I play games, it could mean that I am playing chess, or I'm fishing in a game, or like I'm shooting someone in a virtual environment. So in a way, the game study try to redefine the concept of play and try to find the new way that we can design and formulate a better way to improve the representation and the interaction of the player in the virtual environment, and also finding a way to better deliver a meaningful environmental narrative to the player. And one of the such chance is in a way of how we think about the video game and the video game industry at large. So there's a reason. More recently, there are more research have been moving away from focusing on the video game, which is the final product, but on the whole process of the game and before and after the game is released, such as for the developer of how to create, how to have a better game design, for regulator, for publisher, or even for player on different approach to playing. In one of the notable study in 2018, Ivan Mills and college actually try to measure the amount of energy consumption that the game system actually required, a different combination of the gaming system required. And an interesting result is that they found almost no technical research, no labeling program, no regulation or policy regarding the energy use of gaming hardware, at least in the context of study, which is in the US. And for a more contextual study, recent study also tried to estimate the amount of carbon emission and energy consumption of playing game. For developing game is estimated to be around 0.0% of 4% of world emission. For buying a game, the physical game is estimated to be around 2.49 kilograms of CO2 equivalent, while the digital is less with 0.8 to 5 kilograms of CO2 equivalent. And the act of playing game in overall is estimated to be around 18.6 million tons of CO2 equivalent. In my own research, I also found that there is no, the existing law, at least, there's no mention of video game or environmental protection regarding to the digital industry. There's only a new recent draft law that have been incentivize business to promote the environmentally friendly oriented product and service. But the law has not been implemented yet. In talking with the game developer myself, there is a common perception that the video game industry is essentially a software production. So there is the impact on the environment is unclear to the developers themselves. They it's hard for the developer to see the environmental impact. However, society-wide, there are certain activities being promoted, such as reuse, reduce, recycle, or energy saving through events like Earth Hour. Uh, with So in a way, within the office setting, there are some environmentally friendly behavior are being promoted. And also from a practical perspective, saving electricity, also saving costs. And given that a lot of game studio are being operated like a startup, it's important for them to save the money and try to survive for as long as possible in the industry. But some developer believe that even as a software product, they can actually try to make the game run better, and in a way with that they can indirectly help the software to last longer and to increase the energy consumption of the hardware. So in general, the game developers still largely believe that games are for fun, and in at least in a community like in Vietnam, game with specific purpose sometimes are not seen as game. They see it as more like a gamification, which is the common, like Duolingo. They just use the game feature in a not game setting to have with engaging the customer. And actually, in Vietnam, the game company are being contracted to work on some of this gamification projects. So what they can do from the developers themselves, I think, is they believe that we need a better indicator of what it means to be good for the environment, and also a clear law and regulation for them to follow. And finally, I think there is always room for some industry-wide initiative, event, workshop, or guidelines to raise and promote the environmental awareness. And in the study from Mill 2018, he suggests that gaming should be seen as an activity that involves a combination of both hardware, software, and user behavior, rather than an isolated device. And I think that green gaming as well should also be seen as a comprehensive activities with a very of purchasing and consumption of both hardware and software for video games, not only the game themselves. And this is a very new and an idea that I would like to work on in the future and continue to work on. So that should be the end of my talk. Thank you for listening.
Okay, great, wonderful. Thank you so much, Mentor, for your inspiring sharing. Especially that I think most of us like gaming or gamification one way or another. Yeah, just not to project that only young people like gaming. Otherwise, it would be a bit of a bias. And yeah, I'm very interested in involving games or game feature in communicating climate change or educating for the kids, especially. In fact, one of my project that we are working on, we are developing online games, very simple one, targeting kindergarten kids and also primary school kids. So we would like to engage them to play the games, having some fun, along the way, they learn more about the nature, environment, and the native species, and some interesting species or feature, so that they help to cultivate a love for environment in the first place. Yeah, I think this is very important, especially that if we want them to protect our nature, protect environment, they got to develop a love for the nature. Yeah, otherwise they won't care so much about the damage on the environment. Okay, Kelly, you raise your hand.
Thanks so much. I was really looking forward to hearing this talk because I think it's such a fascinating topic. And of course, you know, you've approached it from two different kind of angles, the sort of notion of how you can be a green gamer, but also that notion of using games to try to, you know, like maybe raise awareness or educate people about climate change and environment. And I suppose, I hope this is a question, not a comment. I suppose what strikes me is that people play games to have fun and to escape, right? They're a form of escapism, I think, in large part. And so trying to, and I think the point you made about how if you try to make them sort of educational, that's not a game, that's sort of gamification. But so I wonder, you know, so I'm thinking that the only way that it could really effectively work as a game is essentially if the environment or climate change is something kind of subtly. It's like it's a subtle uh, element or theme or aspect of the game, so that people get drawn into it, and it's fun and it's a game, and they're not kind of getting beaten over the head by thinking that they're playing a climate change game. Because let's face it, anything that gets advertised as a climate change game is probably not going to run off the shelves, right? Because people are going, oh, I don't really want to spend you know, I don't want to do my escapism, you know, in such a kind of serious and sort of depressing topic. So I suppose, so up to this point, comment, the question to you is, has anyone tried to do that? Are there existing games where they're trying to kind of weave in those environmental themes? I know you mentioned some, and you know, I didn't kind of catch the details, you know, where they're trying to sort of be subtle about the way that they put those themes into the games.
Yes, that is very, I think it's an interesting observation. Actually, I think one of the, as you said, it's hard to make people buy the game if they know it's like, okay, this is about the climate change and this is about this. So, um and I think the criticism from the researcher themselves is that, like, for the game like that, for the game that are said specifically uh, about about something about climate change, for instance, they don't actually use the aesthetic of video game enough to
Yeah.
accommodate for. And actually researchers have also think about tried there have been some game that more about exploration of the environment. There are still the sense of mystery there, but but uh, they for researchers they call it a non-violent way to engage with the environment. Like the environment have to be not like the resource that you can exploit, but is it's have to be designed to be something else. And there are some work that have pointing this out, but I think overall it's really up to the designer and what is their intention to the game, because like sometimes it's the environment is just the background, and sometimes it's need to be more. But the design is hard. The design is and I think one of the renowned researcher Alenda Cheng uh, suggests us that game is like a biological research, like you section off a part of the reality and you try to experiment within the element within that. It's like a fish tank where different element is available to you within the framework, so you have to work with that. So I think there are some titles that I would like to share for sure, and there have been some progress to a better representation. Yes.
Great, thank you. Okay, just to see if there are any questions from the floor or via Zoom. So, Mental, what do you recommend? So, should we play more games, or should we design more games to combat climate change?
I think first we should consume better. I think we should try to, at least personally, I try to not buying, use more digital game, of course, and also if you need to spend on some hardware, try to find the secondary one, second-hand use, so like you can reduce some cost as well. And I believe that we should all try to design better games and having a more, especially in terms of like expansive open world type of game, in which like gamer can actually spend days there, like interacting with the environment with complex physics system. I think those games can actually be a good chance to help us learn about how the impact that we can have on the environment generally.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you again, Mental, for your interesting talk.